What is good, YouTube? Quinn Wade basketball analysis coming to y'all with that quick analysis on NBA news. We're going to go through everybody that got bought out, everybody that got waived. And I'm just going to give y'all a quick analysis on each person that's out the league, potentially can get back in the league, and that's on a new team. Some of these things are old, some of these things are still coming out each day. The Kings did waive KZ Akpala. Akpala is set to go undergo season-ending knee surgery, so the Kings did waive him, and they ended up signing PJ Dozier for the rest of the season. He's going to give them more scoring, more ball handling. For the Kings, and I think that he is a good quality pickup for them. He was already on a 10-day contract, so he's been in the system. He played with the team before. He understands what they're trying to do. Mike Brown is a patient coach, a demanding coach, and I feel like he's a young player that fits in what they're trying to do. And I think that he is a pretty good pickup for them. He has been, and I think that he'll be good. Remember, the Detroit Pistons did sign RJ Hampton to a rest of the season contract. The Pistons haven't been a great team this year. Obviously, they're rebuilding. Cade Cunningham, their best player, their number one pick last year, ended up missing the entire season because of a shin injury. So this season was already a wash because of that. Hampton, remember, was recently waived by the Orlando Magic as they had to, reconstruct their roster. They're rebuilding too. Hampton did average 5 points in those 14 minutes that he played within the 26 games with the Magic this season. Um, I do like the fact that the Pistons are taking a waiver and a flyer on him just because he's a young guy. He can score a little bit, not the most efficient guy, doesn't have the best shot selection, but he's a young guy with a lot of upside. He was obviously a guy that a lot of people looked at as a scorer, a guy with huge potential and high upside. And the Pistons need more of that. They need guys that can really score off the bench, that can really give them that punch as they're a team that lacks depth and lacks guys that can actually create. And I feel like RJ Hampton can do those things for them. Plus, he is a young talent that they can experiment with. And if they don't like him, they can waive him or they can just let his contract end and obviously go in a different direction. But it's always good to entertain guys that have upside, especially when you need it. And he is a guy that's under 25 years old. So this could be a deal that can turn into something special for them, or they can sign him to a short-term deal and trade him for a first round or a second round pick if he does pan out and does well in those minutes that they can give him. He can become a valuable asset to them. But worst case scenario, they can let him go after trying him out and go in a different direction. Obviously, the Cavaliers signed Danny Green. Danny Green got bought out by the Houston Rockets after getting traded from the Memphis Grizzlies. The Cavaliers obviously was looking for a three or a two that can give them veteran leadership. He has championship experience. He can knock down a three. It's still going to be interesting to see if he can still defend, if he can stay in front of guys, if he can stay healthy. Obviously, he had the knee injury. It's going to make him slower. Plus, he's older. But this team isn't relying on him a lot. Obviously, they have young talent on this team, and they have other guys that can play in front of him, and he can just come in, make some big plays, make some big shots, be a semi difference maker. And it might be only for one season, but at least he can be a guy that can come in and give them valuable minutes and contribute. And I think that that's pretty good. The Nuggets did sign Reggie Jackson. Um, he actually got traded to Charlotte in a Mason Plumlee deal, and he got bought out by Charlotte after he got traded from the Clippers. The Nuggets get another guy that can score, handle the ball, give them 3-point shooting, can penetrate. They have a lot of depth. They have a lot of scoring in Denver already. This just gives them another weapon that has playoff experience too, and can make big plays and big shots in big moments. He did average 10 points and 3.5 assists as a backup in with the Clippers. He did play 52 games with the Clippers. He's a guy that's reliable. He's a guy that's usually always healthy. And remember, they did get Thomas Bryant at the trade deadline. So getting another big and getting another wing that can score and handle the ball and make plays just makes Denver a lot deeper and a lot better. The Raptors also signed Joe Wines Camp to a multi-year contract. Um, Wine Camp appeared in 2 games with the Toronto Raptors earlier this season with a pair of 10-day contracts. He did average only 4 points in those 8.5 minutes. In the G League, he played 19 games and he did average 16 points and 6 rebounds. He did shoot 49% from the floor, which is pretty good. And he also shot 41% from three in the G League. So I think that that's also pretty good too. That's something that has been pretty good for the Raptors, is trying to get more spacing and more scoring. I think that that's something that can help them out um, this year, um, as they just made the trade for Jakob Poeltl. Saban Lee also signed a 10-day contract. This is his second with the Suns. The Suns is obviously trying to have more depth, especially after trading for KD. He did average 11 points and 3.8 assists so far with the Suns. Um, I think that they should keep him. I think that that'd be pretty good for him. We also seen the Spurs sign Gorgie Dang to a 10-day contract. He just got size and ability to shoot. The Knicks did guarantee Sheev McCallum and Ryan Diacono, Archie Diacono, the contracts. Um, they're not the most played players. They're not the best players. They're just good bench players. I don't think they're going to make a big difference. Same with the Kings. They guaranteed Della Vadova contract. He is averaging only 1 point per game, but he is a tough-nosed defender that has good size. Give them something a little bit of a difference than what they have, which is mostly offensive players on their team. Obviously, um, the Lakers ended up signing the Clippers ended up signing Russell Westbrook. This has been one of the biggest deals over the last couple weeks, as he's been one of the best players off the bench. Obviously, the Clippers want to start him. He's going to try to score, get to the rim, add a lot of pressure for the Clippers as a guy that can collapse the defense, giving them somebody that can open up shooting opportunities for Paul George and Kawhi Leonard, so they can get spot up threes, which they're great at. Also Morris, also Batum. Obviously, they have the ability to go super small by taking out their centers like Plumlee and Zubac, but that's only in particular lineups. I'm not a big fan of them starting Westbrook because they've been doing so good with Terrence Mann. I feel like Westbrook should continue to come off the bench. I know he has played well for the Lakers off the bench to a certain extent. He hasn't been terrible. He hasn't been that great. He obviously didn't fit with what the Lakers was trying to do, as they didn't have that much three-point shooting around him. And Westbrook is a guy that's best with the ball in his hands. Obviously, you want the ball more in Kawhi Leonard's and Paul George hands. But Westbrook has also shown that he can be a guy that can set guys up. He can run the offense. He can be a little out of control, turnover prone. He can make mental lapses. He can make a lot of mistakes. Not a championship point guard that you want to, depend on to make huge plays. But he is a guy that has been an all-star, has been a league leader in assists, has been a scoring champion, has been in the running for sixth man of the year this season. So obviously he still can play. He still can do big things. I just don't think he should be a starter. I think it should still be Terrence Mann, and I think that he can actually help this bench because they need somebody that can really score since they got rid of Reggie Jackson, and he can actually help Norman Powell a little bit by getting him easier opportunities. Um, I think that that could be a good fit for the Clippers, but not necessarily as a starter. Anytime you can add talent that can get assists, can get rebounds, and can score points, obviously you rather have them over players that's worse because you want the most NBA talent that you can get. You want the most depth you can get, especially when you're in the Western Conference and you have an injury-prone lineup with Kawhi Leonard and Paul George and some of these other guys, and you know that Westbrook's going to show up. He's going to play every game that he can. He's not going to make excuses, and he's going to play hard. But, you know, he's on a short-term deal. He's not a guy that you have to bring back next year. He's a guy that you can see if he can fit, if he can really make a difference, and if not, you can let him go. So I don't really think it's as bad as the Lakers, who traded a lot for him and they was locked into multiple seasons and he didn't really make much sense. I feel like he makes a lot more sense with the Clippers because they do have the ball handlers, they do have the shooting, and they do have the wings, and they do have the ability to put shooting all around them, kind of like what the Rockets did. But also that makes more sense than what the Lakers could do, which they lacked a lot of shooting. So this may not be a move that gives them the starting point guard that they really need or the perfect fit for a point guard that they need. But I feel like Westbrook can be a solid contributor. Also, Ish Wainwright signed a $2.5 million deal for 2 years with the Suns. Um, he has been playing pretty decent for the Suns so far. Obviously, like I said, even with Lee, they're trying to add as much depth as they can, even if it's not the most quality players or the most big name players out there. It still is nice to have it. The Knicks also did sign Travis Keels to a 10-day contract. I think that that's pretty good for them. We still waiting to see when Gary Payton II is going to come back. Um, the Clippers also did sign Keaton Wallace to a two-way deal, which gives them flexibility to give him a longer term extension, to evaluate his talent, to see if he can really grow into develop to the player that they need him to become. The Bulls also did the same thing to Terry Tyler. He also signed a two-way, but they had to waive Malcolm Hill. Chris Dunn also did agree to a 10-day contract. Same with Frank Jackson. I don't really think that these guys are going to be under contract that long for these teams. They might sign for the rest of the season. Obviously, the Jazz are looking for a point guard outside of Colin Sexton because they did trade Mike Conley, who was their starter. Chris Dunn is a long, tall, athletic point guard that can defend. Not the greatest scorer, not the greatest shooter, but he still is young with some upside. Frank Jackson bounced around the league. He's a quality player. Will Barton also got bought out by the Wizards. He has really fell off a lot offensively and defensively, but I do think he'll be picked up for a veteran team looking for some rotation. Patrick Beverly also chose to sign with the Bulls over the Warriors. He obviously isn't the defender or the scorer that he used to be, but the Bulls just need more players that can give them energy, give them more fight. Obviously, they lack that this season. Patrick Beverly is a guy that you can really get excited over just because he just gives them more energy. And that's just something that they lack, and they just need more competitiveness. And I think Patrick Beverly can get them that. Plus, it's not a long-term commitment. It's not a long-term deal. And he is older, but you're not really giving up that much to get him but a roster spot. Um, Also, the Nets did assign Jacques Bond to extension. He will be signed through the 26-27 season. Obviously, they won more under Jacques Bond. They related more to Jacques Bond. He's been there for a while. Sean Marks understands him. He already knows what to expect from him. They've been on the same page. He got them playing better defense. He was able to get through and get them playing better basketball. He was able to minimize and simplify a lot of the things that the Nets wanted Steve Nash to do. He was willing to do it, and they had a lot of success under them, and it seemed like he can really reach players, and I think that that's a good thing to have as a coach. Plus, like I said, he already has a great relationship with the GM and the organization. Plus, he's a likable guy, so it makes sense why they would stay with Jacques Bond. Um, Meyers Leonard also agreed to a 10-day deal with the Bucks. I don't really know how to feel about this. They already have Brook Lopez, but they did get rid of Serge Ibaka in that trade to get Jay Crowder, so it just gives them a little bit more size. He is younger. He can add some type of shooting, but we'll see if he's healthy and how he's played because he hasn't played in a while. So it's really going to be interesting to see what he still has left in the tank. The Heat obviously signed Cody Zeller. He gives them size. He is a good, solid rebounder, not great or amazing. He's an okay defender. He can finish well in the paint. That's something that the Heat need is size and somebody that can finish. Obviously, they let go Dwayne Dedman, so they need somebody to play with Bam. I think Cody Zeller can do that. They also did sign Kevin Love. He gives them rebounding. He gives them shooting. Something that they need since they haven't really been getting it out of Duncan Robinson. Still not a great defender. Nowhere near the player that he used to be. But he is a guy that can still contribute and still can play. This is something that gives the Heat more depth, more playable players than they had before. They didn't make any big moves at the trade deadline, so it makes sense, to get some type of talent. And they haven't been the most healthiest team either. So I think that that's something that they tried to do with this signings of Cody Zeller and Kevin Love, and I think that that does make a lot of sense for them. Other than that, no crazy news since the trade deadline has been over. We just really waiting to see what's going to happen with Will Barton if he even finds a place. Clearly, we're going to see what happened with the contract extension. Some of these guys might be out of the league within the next 2 years. If you're getting waived, if you're getting bought out, that means your time in the league might be over. You only can go to certain rosters. There's only a certain amount of teams that try you out. You're either getting older, you can't do what you used to do, can't play the same minutes, you're a liability defensively, or you're just a washed up player. Obviously, it's players like DeMarcus Cousins, John Wall, Isaiah Thomas, that's still in their 30s like me, early 30s. They're all stars, all NBA players. They're no longer in the league. Injuries is a reason why those players have declined. That's why those players aren't none of the best players. You look at the fact that DeMarcus Cousins and John Wall just 4 or 5 years ago was all stars, all NBA players, and then injuries took their career just like that and made them mediocre to bad players. And it's crazy. John Wall was a lottery pick. He was a number one pick. DeMarcus Cousins was in that same draft. He was a lottery pick. They're only 32 years old, and they're fighting to get back in the league. And it's unfortunate. Those were some of the best players of this generation at some point. Some of the players with the highest potential, and they was able to live up to it. But their careers was cut short early. Remember, DeMarcus Cousins was fighting in the league to stay in the league last year. 1 year later, he hasn't even got a contract, and he was just an All NBA player All Star player 4 years ago, and he's only in his early 30s, and he's already out the league for an entire year so far. So it just shows you how quick you can lose it, how quick you can be out of the league, how quick the league can turn on you. We even see guys like Carmelo Anthony out the league, Dwight Howard out the league. These are Hall of Famers. Obviously, Carmelo was a top 75 player. He got blackballed for a little bit. He stayed out the league for over a year, and now he's been out the league for over a year again. So you can't really take these NBA opportunities for granted. You can't get too cocky. You can't get, too into your head because it can be taken away just like that. I remember Isaiah Thomas was leading my Celtics to the playoffs in his early 20s, and in his late 20s, he was already out the league fighting, just like we seen last year, just to get another opportunity, just to play in the NBA again. And 1 year later, he's not even in the league at all. And he didn't play one game in the NBA this season. And he's in his early 30s, and just 4 years ago, he was an all-star, all NBA player too, leading my Celtics to the playoffs. And he hasn't even got a chance to play in the league this year at all. And last year, he only got a couple 10 days, and he was back out of the league. So you can be a John Wall, you can be a DeMarcus Cousins, you can be an Isaiah Thomas, and you can lose it quick. Even Reggie Jackson, he was just crying 2 years ago saying, I'm thankful for the Clippers giving me this opportunity. He has one okay year, and they already done moved on from him. Then he had to get, with the Denver Nuggets after getting bought out from that contract he signed with the Clippers, and they already got rid of him and gave up on him. And he was a big reason why they was able to make it to the Western Conference Finals and beat the Jazz and have a good competition against the Suns without Kawhi Leonard. And now he's fighting to stay in the league. And Denver picked him up, but we really don't know what's going to happen in free agency because we have the summer league, we have the NBA draft, and obviously a lot of these teams gonna go for the younger talent, the younger prospect, the guy with the higher upside, the more athleticism, the more potential. Then it leaves less spots for the veterans to be able to get back in the league because they focus on the new hottest thing. This is a young man's game. Everybody can't have a LeBron James career. Everybody don't have the fortunateness to stay healthy and avoid injuries, but it just shows you how quick it can go. You can be the biggest name, you can be the number one pick, you can have all the hype in the world, just like we seen with Derrick Rose, who was also in the NBA, but he doesn't get that much playing time, and he doesn't even play that much, and he's in his early 30s, and he was an all-star, an MVP, and all of that went away just like that within one season after that, and now he's not even getting playing time. He's sitting on the bench. So you can lose it quick. It can all get taken from you just like this because of injuries or just because, teams don't want to give you the opportunity or the contract or they moved on from you. We all have to retire. We all have to get a second career eventually as athletes. But as one of the best players, whether you're a Carmelo, a Dwight Howard, DeMarcus, or Isaiah Thomas, you really can't take the NBA for granted because your spot can get taken just like that. They always eyeing the next talent. They always eyeing the next big player, the next big thing, the guy with the most upside. Even if some of those players, you become that guy, but you eventually become replaceable or an afterthought. It's crazy. It's unfortunate. You don't really believe it. Even if you're young, you feel like you're invincible. You feel like it won't happen to you. But this happens every year. This happens every month. Somebody's getting waived. Somebody's getting traded. Somebody's getting cut. Somebody's getting drafted every season. Summer League happens every season. The G League is always trying out new talent and getting pulled up from the G League to the NBA to take somebody else's spot with a 10-day, a 1 year deal, a two-way contract. The NBA is a business. The NBA is always trying to stay relevant, always trying to make money. So these guys, they keep saying, why I'm not in the league, why I don't have an opportunity. You can lose it just like that. You can be the next big thing. You can be the hottest thing. You can even be my age. I'm only 30 years old. And some of these guys I just seen 5, 6, 10 years ago, their time as being all-stars, being some of the best players, being at one point untradeable players, 5, 4, 3, 1 year later, they're just afterthoughts and just other players or another player in the league or another player that's out of the league. It can happen just like that. And we seen it with Reggie Jackson. We just seen it with Isaiah Thomas. Since he left the Celtics and went to the Cavaliers, his career just never been the same. Same with John Wall. After he left Washington, never been the same. DeMarcus Cousins, after he left Sacramento, his career never was the same. And it can just change just like that. And it's just crazy how it can just happen. You know, you can be the hottest thing in the league, one of the most untouchable players in the league, and one small thing can change it all. And we have seen that a lot of this went that quick. And John Wall was just talking about how a lot of the guys on the Rockets, you know, y'all be out of the league if y'all did this on other teams, or if y'all did this on a team that was more serious and not rebuilding. And the Clippers is a team that's serious and they not rebuilding, and they still got rid of John Wall, who still hasn't got picked up from his buyout with the Rockets, and now he has to find a way to get back into the league before the playoffs start into the buyout deadline is over, or he might be out the league for the rest of the season and even potentially in the future. And he was a number one pick, an untradeable player, and he gets injured. The Wizards don't believe in him. They give up hope in him, and every other team has done the same. And he's only 32 years old, not that much older than me. And he was the biggest thing in college. The biggest thing coming off the draft was an all-star, all-NBA player. And a couple years later, nobody wants him because he's injured. Even though he can still play, even though he can still contribute, they'd rather go in a different direction. Other than that, thanks for the likes. Thanks for the comments. Thanks for the subscriptions. Thanks for continuing to ride with me through my ups and downs. I feel like I put out great content. I wanted to go further on about the hype, living up to hype, becoming an afterthought, buyout signs, free agency, trades. Obviously, nobody would have thought KD would have got traded. Golden State, he leaves. Brooklyn gets rid of him. He goes to Phoenix, and he was a guy a lot of people looked at as good as LeBron. And people always say, well, I would never trade LeBron. And Golden State did a sign and trade, or Brooklyn, and now in Brooklyn already done traded him to Phoenix. And nobody would have thought KD would be a player that you would even consider trading. And this is the second time he has been moved. Didn't win much in OKC. Didn't win anything in Brooklyn either. And it just shows you how the NBA continues to change. And we find new faces like the Lukas, the Zions, the Ja Morants, even the Tatums and the Giannis's. The league is forever changing. David Stern did say eventually we got to move on from Michael Jordan. The league has done that. It just shows you that everybody has to get a second career. Everybody eventually has to move on and retire. And the NBA can always replace you. They're a product of finding talent, producing talent, promoting talent, and the faces are forever changing through decade of franchises and organizations. So we just got to appreciate the players that we have, give them love, give them support, hope they can stay healthy and perform at a high level and deliver championships, just because we're going to have to get ready for the next iteration of the teams and players. And it's crazy how fast it can happen. It's unfortunate that it can happen to any player. And just show you how tough it is to stay in the league and to really have these opportunities and how fast they can go away, just like any opportunity that we have as non-athletes. But thanks for watching. Thanks for commenting. Thanks for liking. Check out my podcast. Like on Facebook like you guys been doing. And I'll catch you guys later.